Hey folks, I'm your host Eric Mitchell, and you're on To The Point. It is, I almost said Thursday, and it's not. It's Wednesday, March 6th, and I don't have a fancy quim for today. I know May 4th was May the 4th be with you, and yesterday was Cinco de Mayo. We all channeled our inner margarita makers at home. Today's just May 6th. So we have a great show for you today. I'll be welcoming my co-host to the set here shortly. So we're launching on Wednesday. The wonderful Jordan Gelber will be joining me as my co-host, and we're going to have some amazing guests for you today and every Wednesday. But let's jump into the news. Like I said, today is Wednesday, May 6th, and here's your midday To The Point news brief. Ousted federal health official Dr. Rick Bright alleges that in a whistleblower complaint that the Trump administration prioritized giving business to Trump allies instead of developing scientifically approved treatments for coronavirus. So let's have a minute here. Let's just have a quiet, we haven't experienced one of these, but this is called a quiet rant. What are we doing when it comes to the coronavirus? And I'm speaking to you guys as an American to an American, not a Republican, not a Democrat, not an independent, not a libertarian, not as someone who identifies as a seahorse. I'm because we have a huge problem here. We have two political parties that are in the middle of an election, and they keep telling us what they want us to, and their data is just not up with what we're being told by the or mainstream media. So folks, I encourage you, I implore you to go out and get the number yourself. Lean on your constituents, doesn't what political party you are, lean on your elected officials and demand that they quit putting their hands on lobbyists and making their hundreds of thousands of dollars. Why 30 million Americans remain unemployed in our country. Some still haven't got their stimulus packages throughout our state and throughout the country. People are not getting their unemployment. It is our job as Americans to stand for one another. Our politicians have never cared about us, and they're proving it today. So from everybody around the house, it's my rant. Do your job, America. Let's all stand together and get some knowledge, because clearly mainstream media is feeding chaos, and both political parties just want to tell us how much they don't like each other. Newsflash, that's not new, but people are still dying. So let's worry about keeping each other alive. They could go kiss lobbyists' ass later, but we still need to keep Americans alive. And I know my parents fit in that demographic, and I know a lot of our parents and grandparents fit the demographic that is affected by the coronavirus that is still killing people today. So let's do our job and stop listening to the clown show that is more reality TV than it is anything else. Moving on. See, look, quick rant. Cleaning crews jumped on for our friends in New York. Cleaning crews backed by swarms of police officers descended into New York City subway early Wednesday morning to disinfect the trains. Probably the first time that's ever happened. In the first regularly scheduled shutdown of the entire subway system in over a century of operation. That scares me, and this is why I tell my children and myself, don't you ever touch them damn handles with your bare hands. And I said that long before the coronavirus. The city's sprawling network of 472 stations is closed every day between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. for thousands of subway cars to be cleaned. That is concerning. Also, yesterday, President Trump traveled to Arizona, one of two trips that he's made in the last 8 weeks, to tour the Honeywell factory that has been reconfigured to make PPE masks and other PPE equipment. During his visit, the president did not wear a mask, despite the CDC recommendation that every American wear a mask while out in public. Going further into that, last week, as you may recall, Vice President Pence, on a tour of a hospital back east, chose not to wear a mask. He was the only person not wearing a mask, saying that he gets tested all the time at the White House, so he doesn't fit into that. So moving on with that, it's odd, right? We have these CDC recommendations, yet no one seems to have to follow them. I'm thinking maybe everybody needs to suck it up. Leadership at the top. Hey, President, put your mask on. You're a beautiful person, so it's okay if you cover your face. We'll be fine. I mean, if Matthew McConaughey needs to cover his face, then we'll worry about it. We like looking at him. Moving on, let's talk about it. As you guys remember, 2-3 weeks ago, we had Epic Times senior investigative reporter Joshua Phillips on our show. Joshua has an amazing segment on YouTube called Crossroads. He's been uncovering the Chinese cover-up of the coronavirus. They're trying to get to the truth, because it's not the Chinese people. It is the Chinese people, the Chinese Communist Party that is the problem. Josh just reported that he's being threatened by Chinese communists because of what he's sharing. Also, it's been reported, and I've read the footage and seen the footage, that a Canadian media outlet released an article on Epoch Times and censored it heavily to make them appear pro-Chinese, which, if you go to Epoch Times, they're a democracy-based Chinese American-owned company. Trust me, the last thing they're doing is saying the communists are good. Let's continue moving. I'm hearing that we might have. Here we go. So the UFC. So we have sports. Let's get to sports. Sports is awesome. The UFC this Sunday or Saturday. UFC, what is it? 249. Damn, I remember there was like 3. UFC 249 goes this weekend in Jacksonville, Florida. One of 8 fights scheduled. So after 8 weeks, we finally have it. It's been great seeing Dana White all over social media talking about it. This is a pay-per-view show from Florida. There's 24 fighters. All realized that there's another risk to their already hazardous profession. They've already all flown in over 10 days ago. They've been swabbed and tested to make sure they did not test positive for the coronavirus. The USC has strict safety protocols in place. No one can be certain of the dangers when it's mixed martial arts. So they got to be careful here. We're talking about mixed martial arts, so I wonder if you're more worried about what's more likely to happen. Broken bones or the coronavirus? I'm going with broken bones. And big news, and we're going to show you here in a second, if you're a baseball fan, you're craving baseball. And we talk about it on the show quite often, how we're watching these old baseball segments. Well, yesterday in Korea, they finally were able to start their season. And as you'll see by the footage, it's kind of different playing a game with no fans. There we go. That was interesting, right? That sounds like the kind of baseball game that I don't want to watch. Nobody in the stands. It's crazy. That's what they're saying we're going to get when we go back to baseball. So it'll be interesting just listening to them cheer for each other. At least they. But quite interesting. Baseball still is reported to start their spring training 2.0 in June for a season start in July and run a full 162-game season. Now, like I said at the beginning of the show, every Wednesday we have a co-host. So I'd like to welcome my co-host and former guest of the show, Jordan Gelber.
Hi.
Hello. How are you today?
I'm good. It's gloomy in New York, but I am so happy to be here. So you're putting a sunshine to my day, Eric. I'm so excited.
I'm doing my job. Yeah. It's been a crazy news day. Again, it was fun to see baseball highlights. I'm a sports junkie, but isn't it weird seeing an empty stadium?
Yeah, it's very awkward because I feel like part of the game is like feeding off everyone watching and like knowing that you have fans. It just seems like sad gym after school special now.
Yeah, it does. You're just like, so what are we supposed to do here? Like, there's no booing. Like when somebody makes a play, who cheers? It's your teammates still like, yay, good job, Doug. Way to go, Doug. It's not the same.
Good job.
Booing. Yeah, good job. And we're all, I know here in America, especially for us, right? Especially, I mean, hey, you're in New York, so you know, the Houston Astros have been busted for cheating, right? And everybody's been looking forward to the fallout this regular season, because in spring training, we were already getting beanballs and like fights and booing, and fans were beyond entertaining for what they were seeing inside the stadium. So it's going to be a new, I mean, at least they're getting away with not having a fans attack them, but still, they're going to have to deal with, and the realignment, they say, is going to be the Dodgers and the Astros in the same division. Wow. So there'll be fights for that. But anyways, we're so happy to have you here as our guest. I mean, not our guest, you're our co-host. We have guests.
I'm a co-host today. I've been elevated.
Every Wednesday. You know,
every Wednesday. I feel cool now. I feel part of the
you're part of the team. So I guess we're going to let you lead the way. Okay. and take over, and I'll just sit here and smile and do that news thing where I stare off in the distance.
Oh, I like it. It's very serious. Very serious journalism.
That's what I'm going for. So
Great.
you can bring on the first guest. So
cool.
we'll preempt it. Hold on, we got to do the the point drop. So Jordan, let's get to the point.
Oh, cool. All right. Okay, everybody. I want to introduce our first guest, Cynthia Frunzi, who's a money coach. She is the founder of Millionaire Within, and she teaches you the pathway to financial freedom. So everyone, welcome on Cynthia Frunzi.
Hi, Jordan. How are you? Happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here. So I know that money is one of the biggest stressors happening right now, being in quarantine. Aside from going stir crazy, watching everything close down, a lot of people are struggling with unemployment, not being able to go back to work, not knowing when they're going to make rent or what's going on. But before we get started into that, can you tell us a little bit about Millionaire Within?
Yeah, so I am a single mom at 22 years old. Suddenly I figured out that I had a lot of work to do, and no one ever taught me how money worked. So, working my whole life and just learning how to make it and spend it, and, integrity wasn't an issue or hard work wasn't an issue, but there was no education on what to do once we made this money. So almost 19 years ago, I came across an opportunity where I can not only learn more for myself and get my own financial house in order, but then be part of an organization and a company and expand on my own to be able to pay it forward and help people. So Millionaire Within has been a coaching and financial services firm for quite some time. As I said, 19 years later, I love seeing the impact it makes when we can have the light bulb go off. I always tell my clients, I don't believe it's okay for me to know how your money works and how to manage your money. You need to know how. So there's a lot of coaching and mindset and work that goes involved, because the next time a stimulus package is needed, wouldn't it be great if we didn't have to count on the government and we had one of our own?
Oh, yeah, that's such a great point. I think I deal with this. I struggle with this, but right now everything seems amplified. But what are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about their money?
I can't tell you enough how many times I've heard reputable people in the industry say, you don't have enough money to save right now because you got to get out of debt. People think you need to get out of debt and then save. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Saving is a habit, and so is spending. And I don't care if you start saving $1. You have got to get in the habit of saving. There's always money to save. I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions, that we have to wait until a day. We should stop waiting and start doing. And if you don't know where to find the money, well, that's my job. I help people find the money. They have no idea how many holes are in the ship of their financial future. And even the smallest hole will sink the greatest ship. So we go through and we figure that all out.
That is so true. I think we get so lost in the problem of what is money, we run from it, right? But I have to say, your story is so powerful. And to all the parents right now, I know a lot of parents are struggling because the ones that can work remotely, they're now also becoming teachers and having to homeschool and not being able to work. So a lot of people are kind of freaking out about that. I think it's great to have you as a resource. So I know in quarantine, a lot of people are afraid of not only their current financial situation, but what's going to happen next. So what can people do to rise above it at this time?
So one of the biggest things that I tell everybody to do right now, and hopefully they've been doing it for a while, because I feel like I say this every day, go through your every statement, your bank statement, your credit card statements, your everything statements, and find those little holes. Again, I sat with somebody and they had 6 or 7 different Apple fees they were paying that ended up being like $76 a month, and they didn't even know what they were for. So a lot of times we sign up for something to get the free something, and then we forget and we're paying it for years. Or your gym memberships right now should not be paying for. Yeah, you can start them up again when it's time, but not right now. We're not at the gym, so we shouldn't be paying for them. So all of these things, again, plugging those little holes. The other thing that we could be doing right now is getting resourceful. We don't live in a time, or none of us are with a lack of resources. What we are is a lack of resourcefulness. So start learning, start getting your mindset around money and opportunity. If you are an avoider and you want to run from it, or when the bills come in, you don't look at them. I talked to somebody this morning. She's like, oh, I haven't looked at the bills in a month. I'm like, well, that's a problem. Head on. That's how we tackle any of our fears, of no matter what it is. Head on. You have to start opening stuff. I always compare money when it comes to even weight loss. You got to know where you're starting in order to get where you're going. You don't join Weight Watchers and they say, you know what, hang out for a month or so and then we'll weigh in and see if you made progress. No, we need to have a starting point and we need to know what the goal is. And you work through it to get there.
That's so true. Being in a crisis, I feel like everyone only then looks at everything they should have been doing, getting there. And I know you're so good at like shifting mindset. You have what you said earlier. It's not a lack of resources, it's a lack of resourcefulness. I think we always forget what we have available to us. So in terms of kind of like shifting your mindset, you did say that you're a financial coach. So how do you work with people in times like this?
So there's a couple things that we do. I mean, I spoke to several people in the last week, and some people just need a complete analysis of where they are, where they're going, and the numbers, and how to get and make sure they're on track or get on track. Other people literally need a complete mindset shift. So I've developed an entire program. It's a 4-month program to really work on that and how it started and where it came up, because when it comes to most of the thoughts we have, one, we can choose them. You don't have to believe everything that comes in our head. And two, most of them were given to us. The thoughts we have around money's bad, money doesn't grow on trees, what do you think, we're the Rockefellers, and all these things that we hear growing up, they turn us and develop this personality around money that once we identify it, we can get moving to the next stage.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being here. Before we let you go, can you please tell us what you have going on next and where people can find you?
Yeah, so my website is findyourmw.com. On Thursday evening, we are actually doing a women's event, Women in Wealth event. So that's going to be really great. And you can find all the registration links on there. And if people are looking for work, our company is hiring. We need people. So if there is anybody looking for opportunity and education, you'll get that too. We need that as well.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being on here.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Safe.
You too. Great. So that was awesome. Thank you so much. I'm so happy Cynthia got to come on. I believe we have more people, right?
We do. We have another guest. I'm excited for this next one. We've been watching a lot of TV. Shocking. We have a lot of free time during this quarantine. So I figured, why not put on a movie and TV critic? I think that'd be good for us to have, because we can ask questions and find about the future of TV, because I think it's going to be changing, because movies are starting to come out same days in our houses as they are in theaters, and people are really behind it. So without further ado, let me give a real quick rundown of our next guest in case you're like, huh? So we're talking about Marc Berman. He's our next guest. He is the founder and editor-in-chief for Programming Insider, the online destination for network, cable, syndication, digital, social media, and more. Marc has written for an abundance of outlets, including CBS Watch, Next TV, Forbes, News Pro, Campaign US, the New York Daily News, Variety. I mean, who hasn't he written for is more than reading everybody that he has written for. He's appeared on everything from Entertainment Tonight, Extra, Access Hollywood. I heard great things about him from some producers at Inside Edition, so I know he's done a great job for them. CNN, CNBC, Fox. He is a member of the Television Critics Association and Broadcast Journalists Television Association. Without further ado, Mr. Marc Berman.
Hello.
Hey, Marc. Welcome to the show.
Boy, you made me sound good. Thank you.
You're that guy that's the critic, so everybody's like, oh, the critic's here. So they say it's risky bringing a critic onto any kind of program. So we're taking a risk on being critiqued by an acclaimed critic as yourself. All kidding aside, how have you been during the quarantine?
I've been keeping busy. I think like everybody else, I'm looking forward to normal things like eating in a restaurant or doing any of that stuff. But I've been keeping busy, and with work and watching a lot of television, there's a lot to watch, let me tell you. So keeping busy.
So let's jump into TV. We've heard from Netflix. Obviously, they're reporting record viewership, and we've heard from other streamers. I was just talking to somebody from YouTube TV, and they were telling me about the record number of people using their program to stream the news and everything else. So is this the future? We've seen movie theaters report they're going out of business. Texas opened up their state, but movie theaters did not open up with them, and they said they don't plan on moving. Do you see television, like streaming and all this, taking over what a traditional like retail's kind of dying off now? Do you see it same thing happening with TV and movies?
You know what? I hate to say it, but I'm going to talk about, let's put this whole pandemic aside, even before any of this happened. I think what's happened with movies is, they're trying to give us a different experience. Instead of just going to a movie now, you have to order the tickets in advance. It's special seating. It's you could order a whole meal there. They're trying to make it into a whole experience. I don't think they need to do that, and it's just so easy to watch a movie on Netflix. I just watched, for example, this past weekend, the Eddie Murphy Dolomite movie. So it's so easy just to watch in the convenience of your home and not go to a movie theater and spend that kind of money. So yes, I do think in some ways this is replacing movies. I hate to say that, I really do.
It is interesting, and even before Corona showed up, a lot of people have been cutting the cord. Right, you have great abilities with Hulu. I'll say YouTube TV again. You can tell I probably belong to that, but you have Sling. Obviously, you have Netflix. Apple TV came out with their TV series, which are phenomenal. And then we can't leave off our friends at Disney Plus, which have made every one of us a 5-year-old again. And then on May 4th, I know in my house, my son somehow was able to do it. He did 9 of the movies in one day. But you have Disney Plus with Star Wars and Marvel. I mean, you don't need to go anywhere, and you certainly don't need to rent movies. They're right there on your TV. I mean, it's amazing. And you see HBO now teaming with Cinemax. Excuse me, I can't. Wow, that's funny to do that live.
So excited.
All of a sudden, choking on air is a cool thing. That means you talk a lot.
Take it easy.
But yeah, but the question is where do you see this? Do you see all of these platforms now going to streaming? And what is going to happen to movie theaters? How will they bounce back from all of us now just being really comfortable being able to be at our house?
Well, I will tell you this. Let's flash to the future. When we are past this, we could go out, we could go to the movies, we can go to a stadium. When that all happens again, I think people are going to be hungry to get out of the house. I know I am. I mean, as much as it's nice to be home on my couch, drinking a cup of coffee, watching a movie, I want to get out. So I think maybe the movies could use that to their advantage. Once this ends, people are going to want to get out of the house. As it stands, the convenience of being home and consuming content makes it just so easy to do that. But I think once we get past this, we want to get out of the house, right? At least I hope so. But again, I think I don't want to say that Netflix or any of the streamers will replace the movies. I think it's a very different atmosphere now, and I think the movies are going to have to start thinking of what can we do to get more people here. I don't necessarily know if it's about special stadium seating or I can lean back in a movie theater. I don't know if that's it. So I'm not really sure, but I do think there is an opportunity to get people back to the movies after this ends. And it really is all about the content. It really is. It comes down to if it's something you want to see and it's only in a movie theater, you're going to go see it, hopefully.
So since I have you here, I'm going to ask you this. As a critic, you watch a lot of TV, I'm sure, and
Yes.
the programming that's on. And some shows really make it. I think one that's a cult favorite, I know in our house it is played every day, probably for the last 5 years, is The Office. Right?
Yes.
The Office to me, hands down, more people know it. We relate
Yes.
to it than you have Friends. What makes or breaks, in your expert opinion here, what makes or breaks a great series? Like you look at The Office, a bunch of no names. I mean, even Steve Carell when that started was a relative
Yes.
unknown. And now you look at that cast, and some of the cast is still famous, but when you see the others, you're like, hey, I know that guy. He's in a Facebook
Right.
ad. He was Kevin. So what makes
Right.
a good TV series, and what makes bad that they last a day?
Well, you know what it is? It all comes down to the quality of the show. It's about the writing, it's about the production, the acting. You know, and it's got to be a show that the viewers will relate to. What's interesting about The Office is that was never a huge hit on NBC in terms of total viewers. It wasn't like 30 million people were sitting every Thursday night and watching The Office. That never happened. What happened with The Office was it got a very high concentration of adults 18 to 34 and adults 18 to 49, which the advertisers want. So ultimately, it's really about the show itself. Can it withstand time? And a show like Friends is timeless. I mean, you go to any college now, although you can't go to a college now, there's nobody there. But I mean, when colleges are open and you look to see what are these students watching, they're watching Friends, they're watching The Office. They're going to be doing that in 10 years, 20 years. So it really is about, it's about everything, quality of the show, and does it relate to the audience? Can the audience relate to this? Do they see these characters as people they might know or they might want to hang out with? And you have that with, look, Seinfeld still holds up. Let's go back to the 1950s, a show like I Love Lucy, my favorite sitcom. We still watch it because it's so relatable, it's so funny, and it's just a good show. So it really is about the caliber of the content and the relatability.
It's funny you bring up Friends. We were back in New York for Christmas. My brother lives in Soho, so he couldn't get time off. So we all went to him, which isn't a problem. Don't force us to go stay in Soho, whatever you do. But we went, and there's a restaurant called Little Owl, which is just it's close to the hotel. We stay at the Dominic. Shout out to the Dominic, best hotel there is in the borough. Sorry, I'm plugging away here because I miss those guys a lot. We go once a month, and now we've been trapped here for bad slices of pizza. But anyways, Little Owl's there, right? And that's the outside of the Friends apartment. People have signed that building. We had no idea, but I took my 15-year-old there for breakfast. My mom came up with it. We had all landed the night before. So we go to this brunch, and there's people surrounding it, taking a picture of the outside of the building. And I'm swear, all of them are in their 20s. And I'm like, none of you were even alive. Half of you were in diapers when this was on. And they're signing the building and taking pictures of it. And it was fascinating. And of course, I'm the guy who ages himself. Like, look, there's the Ghostbusters fire station. That was fascinating to me. But I mean, I see what you talk about these TV shows. So, I mean, where do we go from here? How do TV shows really catch our attention? Are we really going to see a TV series based off the coronavirus? I mean, that doesn't sound like it's going to wet my whistle.
There is a show in development that is described as The Office during the pandemic. It's going to feature, if it goes forward, it's going to feature a group of employees who are working from home. And I think a lot of the storytelling is going to focus on what's happening now, depending on how long this lasts. Because now, if you look at content, what's interesting now is you have more people watching television and digital streaming than we ever have, that we've had in several years. It's escalating because people need something to do. So I think a lot of the content, the other night on CBS, for example, there's a legal drama Monday night called All Rise. That show was filmed virtually. Everybody was home. So basically was watching a Zoom screen with the different characters. I do hope that's not the future. But if this keeps lasting, if it lasts, longer than we might hope, you're going to be seeing more of the content that's going to focus on this. And a lot of the programming now, like you look at American Idol on Sunday night, they're filming it, each contestant is home singing. They're going to have the finale at everyone's going to be home. So it's very different now, and it all depends on how long this is going to last. But yes, absolutely, you're going to be seeing shows dealing with this, and years down the road, we're going to look at repeats of shows. We're going to see it's about, what's happening now, and we're going to remember what was going on.
Absolutely. I mean, that's great insight. I love that because I've been seeing, I'll give a shout out to Tamron Hall, who her shows actually had record ratings, beating her ratings that were normally in studio from her kitchen. I mean, her kitchen, she makes it look really spacious and she's shown it behind the scenes. It's not, but I mean, she's doing great and it's great seeing that. I almost like the news, but let me leave you with this last question. When it comes to advertising, which is truly how the networks make money, they're struggling a bit. And I'm hearing we have great eyeballs, Fox and Friends, Good Morning America, all record numbers, but they absolutely are getting crushed by their ad dollar. How do they survive? Because we are seeing some streaming folks really rise up, the streaming platforms, the standalone channels, these smaller networks even getting recognized in the White House press conferences. I mean, how are these big networks going to survive with the ad dollars right now?
You know, this is a very tough situation. Next week, traditionally, the second week in May, every year, is the network upfront. So for the entire week, you go to different presentations, you know, ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, the CW, Warner Media, and they announce their schedules for the fall. They talk about programming for next season. They can't do that now. They can't, they just don't, you know, we're not shooting pilots now. So ultimately, I think what the broadcasters need to do, and this is very important, they need to find ways to fill the airways with programs that people are going to watch during this. Now, as an example, CBS brought back the Sunday night movie. Now, if you remember, you know, years ago, you'd have every network had at least one movie night. We haven't seen that in years. So CBS went to its library. It put on Raiders of the Lost Ark this past Sunday. It did relatively well for them, considering it was a repeat. And then you have a network. Let's talk about NBC. They could go to their streamer. They have Peacock coming up. They have a very big library of programming that they could air that we haven't seen. CBS could go to the vaults of CBS All Access. There are 2 new Star Trek shows that I'm willing to bet most people have not seen. There's a lot of original programming. So if I was a broadcast network, I would go to the well, I would choose programming in the library, I would position it on the schedule, I would promote it, and I bet they'll do well with it because, again, there's so many more people consuming content now, but it's very different because they can't do anything, you know, big and splashy because everything's shut down. But they can utilize their resources and they could then sell that to advertisers. Like, for example, if CBS puts on one of the Star Trek shows on CBS All Access, I haven't seen them, you know, so you could sell that to an advertiser and pitch it that you're going to have a whole new audience. So I think it's about being creative and utilizing what is currently existing, and I think they can do it.
I totally love that. That's the best advice. I mean, that's good insight, and we needed that from you because a lot of us are sitting here wondering what's going on. We're looking at these standalone series. I mean, I'm a big fan of Disney Plus. I'm just amazed by that. And then we have ESPN Plus. I'm a sports junkie, so having all of those wrapped up and seeing these guys bundle, and of course HBO, which I think HBO did the stand-up deal, which was great. They put out some of their best series. They made them free, so people are binge watching Thrones and The Wire and of course The Sopranos, which I think those 3 are some of the best TV ever made. Of course HBO leads the way there, and of course I have to say something positive about The Sopranos after interviewing one on the show.
Oh, it's a great
right
show.
To do it.
But so, look at the library at Disney Plus that ABC could utilize. I mean, they're doing another sing-along this coming Sunday, which they did. The first one did exceptionally well. It had like the best ratings in the time period in years. So you could do creative things like that, but you have so much in your vault that you could use. Definitely.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for coming on. We're definitely going to need to. We definitely need to bring you back on. I know Jordan and I are sitting over here. We have enough questions as we're going back and forth that we could probably bring you on and ask you a ton of questions just for an hour. So we want to thank you.
I'll make one recommendation. One more. Watch Unorthodox on Netflix.
Yes.
Watch Unorthodox. Wonderful.
Awesome. Go watch it. Unorthodox on Netflix. You heard it here first.
Thank you.
There you go. Thank you so much, Marc, for coming on. We
Take care.
Appreciate you greatly.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Bye.
It's that fun part. We just stare at the camera. I love this.
I
part
know.
Of the
Hi.
show. Just like, hi. How you doing?
I was learning so much. I was just like, yeah, what else is he going to say?
That's a problem. You never know when they're going to go back to you. So you could be drinking your coffee and then choke mid-sentence. Hey, it happens on live TV. But awesome. So our next guest, Jordan, I know that you've probably watched the show and seen our next guest, but we're going to bring him on so you guys could formally meet. We're going to bring on our senior correspondent. He's launching his new segment on our show, which I absolutely love. He is the host of Vet Pivot, an awesome veteran-focused podcast that you should go check out. Amazing leaders of industry and veterans and some other folks that he somehow allows to interview. I don't know why. Some of them I might be married to, but I don't know how they get on. But great podcast, so go check it out. But he's launching his new segment, so he's going to do 10 to 15 minutes before we bring on our next guest. He's launching his segment today. We're doing Pivot Point. See the play on words we did there. So Matt, welcome to the show, bud.
Hey, what's going on, Eric? Hey, how's it going? Jordan, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. Thanks for having me back, man. I appreciate it.
This is your segment time. I know, unfortunately, our scheduled guest that we really wanted on, we've talked about her a number of weeks. She's under the weather, and I told her we want her to get better. Don't come on sick because we already know you're a hero, so we don't. You can take your cape off and use it as a blanket today and get well, is what I told her. And have
That's
soup.
right. That's
I
right.
also gave her Marine Corps advice,
fashion.
take 2 Motrin and drink water. That's what they always told us to do. Solves everything.
Sounds like VA advice there as well. I have to give her a hard time though. That's my job as a veteran and as a friend. I have to make sure she understands that she let me down. So I
love it when the Air Force calls out the Navy. We're really doing something good here. Wow, I was being nice and not picking on anybody for going to sick call. So,
well.
This is great. So anyway, so we have Jordan as our new co-host on Wednesday. So
doing a great job.
She's going to learn a little bit about veterans because she's going to. I just told her, I was like, I want you to start asking some questions because from your angle, it'd be good to hear some questions because I'm a vet and a Marine and I just give Matt a hard time all the time. That's my job here. But you could be the nice person on Wednesdays and be his okay, at least Jordan will ask me a nice question. So Matt, what do you have for us this week, bud?
Sure. So I think talk about a little bit in the area of what should you be doing as far as cadence in applying for jobs. There's a lot of opportunity out there to apply for jobs. If you go to, say, a LinkedIn job portal, if you're on Indeed, there's a whole list of jobs. They may all sound interesting to you as a veteran. However, you need to refrain from just hitting the apply and submit my resume. I think LinkedIn has like the one tap apply, easy apply method. It's not to your advantage to do that. So I wanted to talk about the cadence of just what that looks like. First and foremost, figuring out what it is you want to do and whether or not the job you're looking at is actually truthfully in alignment with where your skill sets lie. And the beautiful thing about how this is available to us on LinkedIn is that you can also use the database or platform, if you want to call it a platform. I think it's more of a database, but you can use LinkedIn to connect with folks that are actually in that organization that you're interested in, perhaps performing a similar role or a like role in that in larger organizations, maybe they have the same role. And you can get more of that informational interview process done so that you can figure out if that truly is something that fits your vision for what you want to do. That would be step one before you ever apply, before you ever update a resume, is figuring out if there's a fit there. Because if you get put into a role or a job where it's not a good fit, you're only going to find yourself miserable or overworked in an instant where maybe you got into a role that maybe you are not qualified for. You may be in a place where, okay, I don't know how to do this, and that's not good either. So it's very important to have that networking conversation with someone inside the company before you actually hit apply.
That is sound advice. I like that because, I mean, so many people, I mean, that advice isn't just for veterans, right? I mean,
sure.
Jordan and I, we both know from both sides of the country, there's a record number of unemployed people. So, right. I mean, when it comes to this advice doesn't just apply to veterans, it's truly everybody. So, I mean, so here's a question for you. We had one come in. So, actually, that was saying to ask you a question. I was getting excited. I thought someone had an employment question for you. So where's a good place? So I have one for you. So where should people go look for work? It's an obvious question, right? So many people think, where do you look?
I mean, right now, the Department of Veteran Affairs is hiring. They just saw a huge spike somewhere in the neighborhood, from early March to early April. They've hired almost 3,200 people. Some of them being registered nurses, some being staff positions, with a view to hire another 4,500 in the coming weeks and months. So they're responding to funding that's available to actually hire in positions that have sat vacant for quite some time. So there's always the opportunity, if you wanted to work for a government agency, to go work for the Department of Veteran Affairs and help. I mean, they really do need the help responding to not only coronavirus, but the 250,000 veterans that are new to the civilian workforce every single year coming out of the military. So that's a great place to go. You could also look at LinkedIn or Indeed and comb through. There are companies that are hiring right now. I think I just read that Comcast is trying to hire 20,000 people from the military by next year. So there's definitely opportunities there despite Corona, and it's a matter of doing the networking piece, figuring out if that company is in the area or in an area where you wish to live. Even though we are working, remotely right now, it's still valid to look for location as a priority, because that's going to dictate whether or not they look at you. There's still the filter for, is this person in the local area? Is this person within a driving distance of, so it's just a matter of doing your research on those platforms that are being used by companies to go out and recruit talent. I prefer LinkedIn. I feel like it kind of marries all the different areas. You have salary insights, you have job insights. They give you some data as to where you rank based on your profile versus other applicants for a role, even before you apply. So, and then again, you get to network with individuals within that company, which you can see if you're connected with anyone with that company. So I think there's a lot about LinkedIn and what they offer, not just veterans, but just anybody in general that's looking for a job.
So I have to say, Matt, you are talking about one of my most favorite platforms, which is LinkedIn. I feel like
Lovely.
It's such a secret weapon to people. People haven't realized the power that is LinkedIn. I know I have to convince people that work with me all the time to you should be on it. You should be mastering it. Aside from just doing the research on the companies that you're applying for, what can people do to spruce up their profile to make them look like a really great eligible candidate? Because I think it's not just about the connecting to jobs, because I agree LinkedIn is amazing, but what can people do on their profiles to really show that it's not like a social media profile, it's actually for business and networking and jobs?
So that's a great question. LinkedIn has a lot of really new tools. They're constantly evolving and adapting to what the market is demanding. And so they have these features. First and foremost, I think if you're looking for a job and you're not a LinkedIn premium member, you're really selling yourself short. So that would be the very first thing that you need to do is go ahead and invest in becoming a LinkedIn premium member so that you do have access to all the tools and resources that the platform provides. The next thing you need to do is take a look at your profile picture on LinkedIn. If you don't have one, get one. There's, every single one of us has millions of photos of ourselves, I'm sure, in this day and age. So get one where you're smiling, where it doesn't look like it's a screenshot of an actual physical photo or something like that. Get like a professional headshot done. That ups your game. Work on your tagline. Make sure that it's it speaks to who you are and what you're after, but also is not just your run-of-the-mill everyday type tagline. It can really help you stand out. And then one of the cool things about LinkedIn right now is they have this ability where you can select your best post, your best content, your best work. So if you worked on a project and you want to highlight that, you want to write, sort of an article on some of the lessons learned from that project, you can actually add that to your profile so that it shows, hey, this is something that is a really big part of what I did in my professional career, and it showcases some of my talent in this field or this specific dimension of what I bring to the table. So I love what LinkedIn has done with being able to curate your own content for people to see when they go to your profile.
I mean, just amazing insight, Matt. I do want to share with folks, if you're a veteran, you do have access to LinkedIn Premium for free for
That's right.
1 year. If you haven't used it, go there, find the link, look under veterans. We will put it in post. You will be able to find it in post. Sorry, I don't have it in front of me. Also, another great outlet we didn't talk about. Matt can come back and talk about it. But I did want to mention, if you go to VetForce, which is part of Salesforce, vets out there, if you're looking for Salesforce training and MilSpouse members of your family, you get free, that's right, I said the word free, Salesforce training. So you get to learn how to use that platform, get yourself that certificate. It's over $10,000 worth of training you get for free. So I definitely want veterans to do it. And if you are a first responder in healthcare, also start looking for those out there. I know that there's a lot of platforms that are giving you the same discounts they give our veterans and MilSpouse. So just some great food for thought there. Matt, I want to thank you for coming on and crushing it with that. Was it Pivot Point?
Pivot Point, Eric. Come on, man.
We look forward to you coming on next week and what you're going to share with us next week. So thanks again, bud.
Thanks so much. I appreciate you having me on. Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you. Bye. Awesome.
Everybody's so friendly to you, Jordan. They always make sure they say bye to you. Nobody says bye
I
to
just
me.
split my hair. I'll just be like, hey guys.
They're like, bye, Eric. I feel like it's like if you've seen the other guys with Wahlberg and
bye.
And he's like, bye. And he's like, why do you not answer me? He's like, bye. No, seriously, is that your wife? Like, bye. I always think of that. I was laughing. So far, 3 guests, they all say bye to you. Nobody says like, bye.
I'm new. See, I'm new. It's that new energy. It's that new energy.
You're like the Christmas gift. Everybody likes Jordan today. Okay.
I think that's what it'll be every Wednesday. I'm just the Christmas gift.
Christmas gift.
So great. So many great guests today. And I'm very excited for the next people coming on. I've done so much research about their organization, and I really think it's wonderful to hear from them. So we have Marci and Courtney Ober from the Crazy Girl Foundation and the Crazy Girl Project. And I know for me, growing up as a teen, it was really important to see organizations that really fight for mental health. And I really can't wait to talk to them. It's a mother-daughter duo, right? So it's awesome. So many great guests, Eric. Just surprising me, all these awesome people.
And it keeps going. I mean, you guys think today's good. Wait till we tell you who's on tomorrow. And if you think tomorrow's good, wait till you hear Friday. I mean, we're going to take questions on Friday. We're going to tease it at the end of this show because I want some questions from people. I already have some. I've already given some advanced knowledge to who's our guest on Friday. But trust me, you're going to stick around. But let's not pass up this craze. I love this mother-daughter duo. Talk about a great, as a father of 2 daughters, I love what they're doing. So I'm excited for this interview. So I can't wait for you to bring them out.
Yeah. So let's bring out Marci and Courtney Ober from the Crazy Girl Foundation.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Jordan. Hi.
Good. How are you guys doing quarantine? Where are you quarantined right now?
We're in northern New Jersey. We're in the woods. I think we're lucky, and we're doing very well. Thank you so much.
Great.
Thanks for having us on the show.
Thank you.
Well, it's so amazing. I know when I heard you guys were coming on and I did a lot of looking into your organization, I have to ask you, how did it get started? I know, Marci, you have a huge background as therapist and stuff like that, but how did you guys come together to decide to launch something like this?
After just going through so much together between my mental health struggles and what she has, heard and witnessed as a therapist, we just kind of decided to come together and collaborate and do something that's really going to help people all over the world as far as mental health and mental well-being. So we wanted to start this as an initiative to spread positivity and help everyone to be the best versions of themselves.
That's so wonderful. I know that especially right now in quarantine, you probably have a lot of people reaching out to you, but I want to know how did it get started and what is the organization? It's the Crazy Girl Project and the foundation is part of the project, right?
That's correct. So after Courtney went through a really difficult time with her mental health, and even though I'm a therapist for many years, when you're really trying to help your child who's struggling and suffering get what they need, it takes this to a whole nother level. And being on Facebook groups and seeing other parents that were mostly mothers struggling, trying to help their kids, and understanding that there's really no concise, practical information available. So people are up till 5 a.m. trying to find out what's helpful. And when Courtney came out the other side of her struggles, I said, I think we should write a book. And she was all about that. So we started writing our book together, The Crazy Girl Survival Guide, which is a practical guide, which really has all the crazy menu. And we say crazy with a K because we're trying to rebrand crazy, because we really do believe that everybody's a little crazy. Our tagline is actually, we're all a little crazy. It's what you do with your crazy that counts.
Yeah.
So we put together the book, which is soon to be released. We're very excited. And then we decided to start a nonprofit because we want the funding from the book to fund initiatives that will really bust stigma and normalize mental health all over the world.
Yeah, I think it's so important that people are accepting and kind towards other people no matter what they're going through. And I think this whole initiative between the book and the Instagram page and the Facebook and the nonprofit, all of these things teaming together are a really great way to help normalize mental health and stress its importance for sure.
And provide some practical information about what can really help in one little package. So people can come to our group and build community, and it's been amazing. It's amazing.
I mean, it sounds like it. I think one of the most unique points about your organization is I love how you've taken back the word crazy, because I think a lot of girls hear they're crazy girl, and I'm very close to my mom, so it's good to see like the pathway of like supporting female entrepreneurship and really kind of breaking through and disrupting the term crazy girl. Right now, there are so many people all over who are displaced with this quarantine. You have the mental health of society right now, of course, just struggling with the daily, struggling with your daily routine. You have a routine. And also a lot of teenagers that felt that their entire end of their school year, for many seniors, their launch from being a child into adulthood between the loss of prom and graduation has been a huge struggle, and a lot of people are dealing with it very negatively. What are some points that you think people can really do to kind of come out of that, or maybe communicate better with their parents?
I think some really important tips for staying present and healthy mentally, at least during this quarantine, is taking care of yourself and helping to take care of the people you love and care about as well. So I can take care of myself by participating in self-care. Of course, you've heard that term so many times nowadays. So that's, exercising and doing things that you love and participating in things that make you happy, but also helping to take care of, your family and your friends, because this is a really difficult time for everybody. And it's just so important that you spread love and positivity, because there's so much turmoil going on in the world and so much stress and so many, different news channels telling us different things. So just trying to stay positive and keep your mental well-being at a stable place is a really important thing, I feel like, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And the body and the mind are all connected. So whatever we can do to take care of our body through meditation, yoga, food, connecting with other people, reaching out when we're struggling, really busting any shame or stigma that goes with any kind of struggle. We're here to help each other. So reach out, connect up, and prioritize your mental health. It's just the basis of just about everything else.
I love that you guys are talking so openly about this, and what I'd love to, commend Courtney for actually talking about it. I know it's hard. I have a 15-year-old daughter, and I know it's hard to talk about mental health, especially during this quarantine. And, we've had a lot of tears in our household just, from, they're extending the lockdown for, more weeks or months to, her track season was gone, which you train really hard. And, it's hard, right? And mental health is one of those things, especially coming from the veteran perspective, with so many of my brothers and sisters struggling with PTSD. And then we finally have an athlete like Kevin Love, who's come forward and talked about mental health. And I think it's great. So my question is what advice are you giving to people in general who are fighting the doom and gloom? I've coined my own kind of belief behind it, which is discipline over distraction. So for me, it's meditation, getting my workout in, scheduling the time to physically get my butt up away from work, because I'm working out of boredom now, which is weird. I'm like, hey, let's just work 16 hours because I'm bored. What advice are you giving to folks so they get up and stay active? Because you can get up here and this just can finish you.
Yeah, absolutely. Do something every day to whatever degree you can. Of course, we have to be kind to ourselves, and we don't want to beat ourselves up or put too much pressure. But at the same time, when we prioritize and schedule in self-care activities, whether we're going to cook something or meditate or move or call somebody, FaceTime somebody, just prioritizing that if we are going to be well, it doesn't really happen by accident. It takes work, and you can pick off the crazy menu. Our book has everything from, therapy to movement to, all the different things that can help, but pick something that appeals to you, whether it's spiritual, physical, emotional, What do you think, Court?
Absolutely. I think just everything that Marci said, but also just, doing things that you love, like spending at least 5 to 10 minutes a day, just doing something that you maybe always wanted to do, or something that you were really good at in the past, or even semi-interested in, and immersing yourself into that. I know, for example, I've gotten really into playing the piano and painting during this, and those are things that I didn't really have time to do during the school year. So just trying to make the best out of a situation that we have no control over is a good idea at staying positive and staying well and staying occupied and just trying to be a little bit productive.
Yeah, for sure. And spend some time with your pets. They're so healing. And love each other, because we're all in this together. We might not be in the same boat, but we're certainly in the same storm. So join together and look out for each other for sure.
I love that. That's a great quote. I absolutely do. That's so perfect. I love we're all in the same boat. I love saying we're all shooting on the same hoop. I mean, there's so many great phrases. At least we're all together doing it. That's the cool thing. We're all kind of doing the same thing.
We're all coming up with great phrases that we'll keep on for years and years to come because we're in a time capsule. One thing I have to really, I really want to ask a question on is, and it's way more directed towards Marci, but I think relationships right now are one of the places that are really struggling for people. Some people are in new relationships and they've been stuck in their new apartment with their new boyfriend that they weren't planning on dating or whatever, or their marriages are not used to being in such confined stages because the kids are there, or, I'm like staying with my friend and she and I've never lived before, but we're trying to make time. It's you there, and also parents and kids. There's so many relationship dynamics that I think are struggling right now. What is some advice that you can give towards the self-care of relationship preservation?
I love this question, and I'm so glad you asked this. So being a marriage and family therapist, I'm all about relationships. And believe me, I'm no perfect person. I can tell you that this crisis has created an opportunity with Courtney home from college, and also my older daughter, Jordan. Her name is also Jordan. She's home. She's graduating Lehigh. She's supposed to be, doing all her senior activities and heading off to the city to do her thing. And she's not so happy to be home. Making sure my side of the street is clean and really working on my relational health, which means I take responsibility. I hold in the things that can be harmful to other people through containing boundaries. I understand that my work, whether it comes from how I was raised or what I struggle with, is my challenge. And this is my opportunity to show love as a verb and to work on being the best version of my relational self with the people that I'm confined with. And this is challenging. This is no easy task, but I think it's a spiritual practice. It's the highest order of love and one of the very best things that we can do for ourselves and our loved ones. And I'm so thrilled to be able to do this project with my daughter, Courtney, who is growing and developing. And I think it's all about relationships. Thank you so much for asking that wonderful question.
I mean, to me, that's the most important thing, right? I love that you said love is a verb. I think we forget about that, right? We forget that love is a noun, love is something that you feel, but it's a verb, it's an action as well. I am so inspired by your team efforts in pushing this message along. I love the fact that your mother-daughter duo. My mother works with me, so I'm always giddy about that. She'll love this later. But where can people find out more about the Crazy Girl Project and the Crazy Girl Foundation?
Yeah, so for starters, you could check out our social media accounts, which is Instagram and Facebook, the Crazy Girl Survival Guide and Crazy Girls. And then you can also check out our website,
which is just crazygirlproject.com. Insta is crazy.girls. Our Facebook page is Crazy Girl Project. And we have an amazing private Facebook group for support, connection. We're actually doing these free connection groups where we're grouping people together by age, like Courtney and her 20-somethings, and there's 30s and 40s. And we're just connecting people. They're not therapy groups, they're free connection groups. And if they like it, they're going to spin out into space and they're going to be Crazy Girl connection pods everywhere. And I want to say one more thing, Crazy Girl, you don't have to be a girl to be a crazy girl. Any sex, any background, any location, we're all a little crazy. It's what you do with your crazy that counts. So that's where we're coming from. Thank you so much
for having us on the show. We hope to come back soon.
Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm definitely going to check you guys out more and share it with everyone that I know. So thank you
so much.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Eric.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow. So many just Every time, just so inspiring. And then the next day it's going to be more inspiring. I just love, it's so important, I think, to create in quarantine and to have people that are spreading the message of that we're all going through this together. Everyone on today is really passionate about that. So
I do love that. You're right. I was thinking of that as we were sitting here going, wow, like every guest today left us with something positive, which is why we made this show. And you just kind of felt their energy. So they're not just going through the motions. They're actually, it's great to see that and to see, you know, Courtney as a young person come out and say it. I sound really old when I say that. A young person. I hate saying that. I should never say that word. I don't want to become my grandparents. A young person. That young whippersnapper over there was doing. But just an amazing topic. We definitely will have them back on again because that was the best 10 minutes of my life. I love that. That was outstanding. Learned a lot, and hopefully a lot of people go out there and check that out. We will have all those links available in the YouTube channel later tonight for their segment that we will be sharing, so you can go out, click it. But if you need to find it, just ping us on the site. So, Jordan, we've come to the end of your first co-hosting with us.
Wow, I just feel so, you know.
How was it?
How was it? It was good. It was good. I was a little, I'm not watching it. I have to partake, which was difficult for me, but you've had such amazing people on today. I think once we discuss the fact that everyone is really hungry for connectivity, and shows like this are a great way to spread the message that we're all hungry to connect and we miss relationships, whether it be business and professional or personal, whatever. I think it's just great to be a part of that. So it was a great time today. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I can't wait till next Wednesday. So folks, we have a heck of a show for you tomorrow. As you know, every Thursday we honor our veterans and first responders, and we have a doozy for you tomorrow. I can't wait. So we're going to go down the list right now for you. Coming in, number one guest, you've seen her on the front cover of ESPN The Body Mag. You've seen her at the ESPYs getting the Pat Tillman Award last year. She has climbed 7 tallest summits in the world, and she's doing this missing her left leg that she lost in a tragic helo accident in Afghanistan. We have the one and only Kirstie Enos for the United States Marine Corps joining us tomorrow. And also coming back, we have fitness guru and mental health guru and United States Marine Corps door gunner Lisa Bodenberg will join us. She has a big day tomorrow because of her appearance on our show. She was selected to be on Fox and Friends tomorrow morning, so she'll be making her TV debut tomorrow morning. So we'll get to talk to her a little bit about that. Then from Generation Kill, great HBO series, we have United States Marine and Recon Marine, as he is, Rudy Reyes, affectionately known as Fruity Rudy. If you don't know who Rudy Reyes is, go Google him. Ladies, you'll probably like what you see. Guys, you'll be very envious of this man and how he looks. Trust me, you get envy. He's in his late 40s. He's like a vampire. He's like 21 looking. And finally, we have another guest. We have 2 guests. We have a company called Bacon coming on, another Marine, and he's going to talk about getting veterans hired. So full day. And then Friday, folks, this is what we want to tease for you. Friday, get your pens and pencils ready and send us your questions. We have Mo Vila coming and joining us on the show. He is from the Clinton and the Obama and Joe Biden administrations. He's worked with all of them. He's been a confidant to them, and he's got some amazing insights. So if you have questions that you'd like me to ask, or our co-host on that day, we have Pavlina Osta joining us on Fridays as our co-host. If you have a question you'd like to ask, please send it to us in a message in our Facebook or YouTube or at Twitter. Basically anywhere, get them to us, and we will, as long as your question's good and isn't completely insulting, you'll probably get it asked on air. So keep them clean. No, we're not talking about certain topics. Let's be nice to Hunter. We understand. I think Hunter's learned his lesson. You can't do cocaine and be in the Navy. Well, lesson 1. I think he figured that out. Also, don't get jobs for $50K a month and try to figure out where that money comes from. It's hard to explain. You probably shouldn't be on that board. But anyways, those are just my 2 things with him. But ask those questions. But anyways, I am honored to have our co-host today, Jordan Gelber. Thank you, Jordan, for joining us. I'm Eric Mitchell. On behalf of our entire team, of course, myself, Jordan, Butch Seltzer, our EP, Madison Mitchell, our other EP, and the man pushing the levers for us, he's the master of puppets, the one and only producer, Chris, Army veteran. Thanks, Chris, for your service, bud. Thanks for helping us out today. And I'm Eric Mitchell. Be safe, be strong, be smart, and God bless America.